The rain was beating hard, creating a somber rhythm on the roof of the cabin where Ilara and her friends were staying. "Let's spend the night in the abandoned house," Ilara proposed, breaking the silence. The tense atmosphere seemed to carry a challenge, and her words hung in the air, echoing in each of their minds. Fear and excitement mingled, but who really believed the legends about the 7 lost lives? Marisol, always the provocateur, questioned the group's courage. The debate began, but what was really at stake? As they prepared for the adventure, each dealt with their insecurities. Finn tried to disguise his nervousness, while Rowan hesitated, worried about what might happen. Fear, like a shadow, followed them. Upon reaching the house, the wind howled, and a strange energy surrounded them. Marisol ventured inside, but what would they find there? What if the secrets of that house were deeper than they imagined? With each step, the tension increased. A sharp scream cut through the air, and panic took over. What would happen when they confronted their fears and anxieties? Each was about to discover that the night held much more than just legends. The house was alive, and its truths were about to be revealed. It was a dark, moonless night when the group decided to explore the old house that everyone in town said was haunted. Curiosity drove them, but fear of the unknown also lingered in the air. Each of them had their insecurities, and the legend of the house seemed to have the power to amplify them. They gathered not just to challenge the legend, but to face what they didn't even know bothered them. What was it that drew them to that place? Was it the thrill of discovering something new, or the desire to prove themselves? As they walked toward the house, the skepticism of some group members stood out. They laughed at stories of ghosts and whispers, believing they were merely inventions of the collective imagination. Others, more sensitive, felt a shiver down their spine, thinking about the souls that might be there, trapped between the walls. The contrast between belief and disbelief created an atmosphere of tension, but also expectation. After all, who wasn't curious about what might happen? As soon as they entered the house, a musty smell and an unsettling silence enveloped them. The echoes of their footsteps seemed to be the only company in that gloomy environment. The group split into smaller groups, each trying to face their fears in their own way. For some, it was a test of courage. For others, an opportunity to connect with friends and share what they felt. The legend was alive and pulsating, and with each corner explored, fear and attraction intertwined. What intrigued them most were the stories circulating about the house. A former resident, they said, had disappeared without a trace, and many claimed he still wandered there. The group wondered if there was truth in all of it. This doubt created a mix of excitement and apprehension as the reality of the house became more tangible with each passing second. The unknown was waiting for them, and this expectation led them to delve deeper into their own thoughts. Facing the house, the group found themselves at an impasse. Curiosity was strong, but so was fear. They needed to decide, move forward or retreat. The attraction to the unknown was undeniable, but the risk of confronting the supernatural left them hesitant. And so, amid nervous laughter and apprehensive glances, they took the next step, aware that this journey would change everything. As the group advanced through the house, each person's insecurities began to emerge. The pressure of the gloomy environment made them feel more vulnerable. The skepticism of some quickly transformed into distrust, while others, more sensitive, felt overwhelmed by the heavy atmosphere. Interactions that were once light and fun now became tense. It was visible that each was fighting their own internal battles, and the house seemed to amplify these struggles. The group dynamic began to shape around these insecurities. Those who felt more confident tried to lead, but resistance from those who were more frightened created friction. Fear became an emotional divider. One group member who had always appeared strong began to hesitate, which surprised the others. The surprise made some question. Was it possible that everyone was more affected than they appeared? Conversations that were once relaxed were now laden with tension. Sarcastic comments were replaced by uncomfortable silences. Insecurities began to create barriers, and what should have been a shared adventure transformed into an emotional battlefield. The group, which had entered the house united by curiosity, now found themselves divided between those who wanted to press on and those who wished to leave as quickly as possible. The pressure increased with each new noise that echoed through the wall. A sudden scream made everyone jump, and at that moment it became clear that fear Fear had the power to both unite and divide. The need to support one another became evident, but the tension between different reactions to fear pushed them apart. Each reacted differently, and this tested not only their friendship, but also their ability to understand and accept each other's weaknesses. In the end, the experience in the house wasn't just about the supernatural, but about how fear can reveal human fragilities. The insecurities that each carried were exposed, and the group dynamic became a reflection of these internal struggles. What could have been a simple exploration transformed into a challenge for friendship and mutual trust, leaving everyone aware that to move forward, they would need to face not only the ghosts of the house, but also the ghosts within themselves. In the group of friends who decided to explore the haunted house, each brought their own insecurities. While some were ready to face the unknown, others trembled just thinking about what they might find. Lucas, for example, always felt pressured to be the brave one of the group, but inside, he questioned whether he had enough courage. Anna, who was more sensitive, struggled against the fear of being seen as weak. These insecurities weren't just internal, they began to affect the dynamics between them, creating a tense environment. As the group approached the house, the atmosphere changed. The laughter that once echoed began to fade, replaced by nervous murmurs. The pressure to show bravery made some become more competitive, while others withdrew into themselves. Pedro, who was always the peacemaker, tried to maintain harmony, but his own anxiety made him hesitate. Fear became palpable, creating an emotional divide that no one wanted to admit. Interactions between friends began to reflect these insecurities. Comments that were once made in jest were now interpreted as offensive. Tension rose as each tried to deal with their own fears. Julia, who had always been the most optimistic in the group, began to feel isolated, as if no one understood her. Conversations became rarer, and each seemed to look at the house not just as a frightening place, but as a mirror reflecting their own weaknesses. When pressure increased, internal conflicts transformed into external confrontations. A simple discussion about what to do next became a battle of egos, where each tried to prove they were right. The trust that once existed between them began to crumble, and fear of the unknown mingled with fear of losing friendship. Each found themselves fighting against their own demons, while the house seemed to observe everything in silence, as if feeding these conflicts. The atmosphere was charged, and the group began to realize that the greatest threat wasn't the supernatural, but the insecurities each carried. They were at a crossroads, where they needed to decide whether to continue together or let their fears separate them. Individual insecurities became a collective challenge, and the house, with its walls marked by time, seemed an invitation for them to face not only what was inside it, but also what was inside themselves. When they finally entered the house, Ilara began having visions that revealed fragments of the tragic past of that place. These visions weren't just distorted images, they brought to the surface deep emotions and secrets that were buried. What seemed like a simple exploration transformed into a journey of self-discovery. Each vision Ilara shared made the group confront not only the history of the house, but also their own stories. Objects found inside the house, like old photos and forgotten letters, acted as catalysts for reflection. Each item had its own narrative, and as they were discovered, they provoked different emotional reactions among the friends. For Julia, an old doll awakened memories of her childhood, a time she tried to forget. For Lucas, a diary brought to light his insecurities about what it truly meant to be a friend. These moments of discovery were intense and often painful, but also essential for each person's growth. As Ilara's visions became more intense, the line between past and present began to blur. The group wasn't just trying to understand the history of the house, but also confronting their own truths. The house transformed into a space of revelation, where each was forced to face their fears and regrets. What was once a simple challenge became an opportunity for healing, albeit painful. Raw emotions brought to light truths that were hidden. The fear of opening up and sharing these feelings was palpable, but the need to connect and understand what each was going through became stronger. The house, which seemed like a cursed place, now revealed itself as a sacred space for self-reflection. The group began to realize that by confronting the past, they could finally find a way to resolve resolve their insecurities. This process of confrontation wasn't easy and required courage. Each of the friends had to shed their armor, accept their vulnerabilities, and find strength in fragility. This journey united them in unexpected ways, and the connection formed between them deepened as they shared their truths. They learned that, even amid fear and pain, there was room for empathy and understanding, and that the house, with its tragic history, helped them face their own internal battles. When the group entered the old house, the first impact was the deafening silence that enveloped them. Ilara, one of the members, soon began having visions. For her, the walls of the house weren't just wood and bricks. They were living memories of a past marked by tragedies. The visions that emerged in her mind weren't just random images, but fragments of stories that clamored to be heard. Each vision seemed to connect Ilara to events that occurred long before her own existence, revealing secrets that the house kept under lock and key. While Ilara was having these experiences, the other group members felt increasingly uncomfortable. Her visions brought to the surface fears and insecurities that many preferred to ignore. With each new revelation, an echo of the house's history mingled with their own personal stories. Thus, the ghosts of the past weren't just those of the house, but also those of each of them. The visions began to function as a mirror, reflecting the emotional wounds that each character carried. The objects found in the house, an old diary, a worn doll, and dusty photos, were more than simple relics. Each item seemed to have a life of its own, awakening repressed feelings and memories among the group. The doll, for example, brought back childhood memories for some, while the diary aroused curiosity and sadness in others. These objects became catalysts for deep conversations and revelations that had long been dormant. What was once a simple exploration turned into an internal journey of self-discovery. As truths came to light, tension among group members began to rise. Some wanted to ignore what they were learning and move on, while others felt the need to confront their own demons. This emotional division caused the group dynamic to change drastically. What should have been an experience of friendship and adventure transformed into an emotional battlefield, with each fighting against their insecurities and fears. Ilara's visions became a point of discord, with some believing she was just imagining things, while others saw her as a guide. In the end, the house not only unraveled the tragic history surrounding it, but also laid bare the weaknesses and yearnings of each person. The past, which seemed distant and irrelevant, was now raw and exposed, and each had to decide whether to confront these truths or hide behind emotional walls. The confrontation with the past proved to be not just a matter of courage, but also an opportunity for personal growth. The revelations brought to light by Ilara and the objects found in the house became the catalyst for a change that no one expected. After the intense experience in the house, relationships within the group underwent a significant transformation. Fear, which initially united them, now served as a divider. Some felt closer, sharing their truths and supporting one another, while others distanced themselves, unable to deal with the revelations that emerged. The experience forced them to reassess their friendships and how they viewed each other. What was once a light friendship now became fertile ground for resentments and misunderstandings. Personal perceptions also changed. Each began to understand that the insecurities they carried weren't unique, but part of a universal human experience. The group, which previously seemed homogeneous in their anxieties, was now a mosaic of interconnected stories. This new vision brought forth an empathy that didn't exist before. By sharing their vulnerabilities, they began to support each other in ways they never had before. The fear of the supernatural transformed into a deeper understanding of each person's internal struggle. Facing fears and painful truths wasn't easy, but many realized that this journey strengthened them. The experience in the house became a milestone in their lives, a moment when they decided not only to face the unknown, but also their own shadows. In doing so, they discovered that resilience in friendships is built in moments of vulnerability and truth. This new perspective made many feel more secure in their relationships, ready to face whatever came next. However, not everyone managed to deal with the consequences. Some remained trapped in their insecurities, memories, unable to let go of the past that haunted them. The tensions that arose during the experience left deep marks, and the friendship that once seemed unshakable became a fine line between understanding and resentment. This division made it clear that although the experience was transformative, true change requires continuous effort and willingness to face what was revealed. In the end, the journey through the haunted house not only revealed truths about the past, but also shed light on the future of the group. The experience became a lesson about the importance of facing fears, being honest with oneself, and valuing relationships that truly matter. Each left the house not only with stories to tell, but with the certainty that facing the unknown is an essential part of personal growth and building genuine friendships. As the friends moved away from the house, silence enveloped them like a heavy cloak. Each reflected on the revelations of that fateful night. Ilara, with her heart racing, looked at the faces of her friends. "Do you think we managed to escape all of this?" The question hung in the air, laden with uncertainties. Marisol, still processing her connection with Jasper, murmured, "What if the shadows of the house never leave us?" Finn, normally so optimistic, now seemed thoughtful. "Maybe the real battle is just beginning. We need to face what we've learned." Rowan, with a determined look, added, "We won't let fear define who we are." As they walked, the house in the background seemed to watch them, as if it knew their stories were far from over. The echo of their screams and laughter still resonated in the wall, and the feeling that something awaited them, something deeper, didn't abandon them. Could it be that they had released not only their truths, but also something that was trapped in the shadow? Now, thinking about everything they faced, you might ask yourself, how far would you go to confront your own fears? What would you sacrifice to free yourself? Leave your answer in the comments, and remember, true courage is facing the unknown. Subscribe for more stories that challenge the mind and heart.